we recently printed $6 billion for Ukraine.
Yes.
Where is that coming from?
So money is an interesting thing, and fiat currency is an interesting thing. Let's just say I got 3 sheep out there. Let's say each sheep is worth an equivalent of 1 cow. And I owe you 1 cow because I borrowed one, butchered it because I was out of meat and I wanted to have a cow. You know I'm good for it because I have 3 sheep.
Right.
And then George across the street needs to borrow money from you. And you say, well, Tim owes me money, so I'm going to lend some to him because he owes me money. Now we start creating a bit of a circle of who owes who. So money works the same way. Money is just, everyone agrees that a piece of paper that says 1 on it is worth $1. And the only reason why it's worth $1 is because somebody owes someone $1 or something of value equivalent to that.
Okay.
So money is created through debt. The fiat currency is created through debt. So if we have debt, we have the circulation of money. So when you print $6 billion to give it to another country, all you do is say, we are willing to take on $6 billion worth of debt and give that note to someone else.
Got it. So where are we getting this debt from?
We are saying we are going to produce goods that will be worth $6 billion someday, and then we can recoup that money and pay back those people who we borrowed from, which is you're borrowing from the economy essentially. Got it.
So our current national debt is roughly, I looked it up last night, $35.9 trillion. Who are we in debt to?
Different countries, but primarily you and I. Most of our debt is in U.S. Treasury bonds. Those are debt tools. So we're in debt to ourselves, and that's why they have inflation. Inflation actually will help lower debt, right? Because if you owe $1 to me, and now your dollar is not worth $1 anymore because
It's
your
worth
dollar
75 cents.
Yeah, your dollar could buy a gallon of milk, but now it can only buy half a gallon. So I just got rid of half of my debt.
Got
So
it.
I only owe you a half a gallon of milk now. I don't owe you a gallon of milk anymore because your dollar has gone away. Half has gone away. So inflation gets rid of some debt. But yeah, so we owe to ourselves. We owe to other countries. Other countries will buy U.S. debt, so buy treasury bonds, and because they know they're secure because the U.S. produces so much goods. So they feel confident that we'll be able to produce stuff, sell it to other people, and then repay that money back.
So what is a treasury bond?
It's just an IOU from the government saying that the U.S. Treasury printed a certain amount of money and it's now in circulation. A certain amount of debt, or allowed a certain amount of debt.
Okay, so like if I were to go get a treasury bond for $100, it's just saying the U.S. the U.S. Treasury printed $100
and owes you money, or someone owes you money. Any bonds are proof of debt. So like for instance, if you own a home, you have a bond essentially, or you have a mortgage, which is your home is worth a certain amount of money. So there's intrinsic value in your land, in your home, in what you can do with that, or if it's an investment property, or if it's a business that's producing something like a farmland, you can produce crops, you can sell those crops. So that is, if you owe like the field back behind here, if it's 100 acres and it can produce $1,000 per acre worth of grain that can be turned into bread and feed people because people need food, then there's value in that. So the bank will say, well, I'll tell you what, I'll let you, we'll have an IOU system set up because we know there's value in all of that. Someone's going to want that. They're not making more land. They can make more cars, but they can't make more land. Yeah. So there's value in that.
Yeah. So inflation makes the debt, eliminates some of the debt.
It lowers the value of the dollar or the value of the dollar associated with that debt.
Yeah. Yep. But it also hurts us.
It does. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So who is it benefiting?
Nobody.
Okay.
I mean, well, I should take that back. Inflation can benefit the government, so they don't have to pay as much of that debt back, so they can still collect more taxes, and they're not putting that tax money towards debt, right? They've never, like, we pay absorbent amount of taxes, but they don't ever balance the budget, and they just keep printing more. So the taxes they're getting has nothing to do with going towards debt. They don't care about that, because debt does keep an economy. So if you like with fiat currency, the debt can keep an economy going, because the more I owe to you, the more I want to work to pay that off.
But only if you do actually want to work.
But only if I do, and only if I do actually produce something. So if I can no longer produce anything, if I can't dig up gold out of the ground, if I can't dig up precious metals to use for certain things, gold gets used in technology a lot too, right? If I can't get lithium out of the ground, if I can't get steel out of the ground, then I'm running into problems. If I can't get oil out of the ground, I can't do something to produce, and then I run into problems. But as long as I can produce, I'm valuable.
Got it.
And this is where socialist countries come into problems too, because if you're young, you're sucking money out of the economy, so we want to get you to a certain age quickly. But once you get older, you're no longer of value because you can no longer produce.
Right, and there's not going to be a point later in time where you will be able to produce.
No, you're going to eventually be a drain on someone if you don't have enough money. Drain on, and not in, I mean, yeah, it can sound negative, but just in general, an older person is not making money anymore.
Right.
So a socialist country will say, well, they're no longer valuable. That's why they have open laws on killing someone when they're older, euthanasia.
Exactly. Yeah.
So because they're no longer valuable. That's why I also like socialist health programs too. They hurt the weak and they hurt the elderly. They're designed for the healthy. Their socialist healthcare systems are not designed for the weak and the elderly.
Right.
Because they're no longer valuable. They're not gonna. Yeah. It's only going to be a suck on the system.
They're not producing value, so therefore, why have them at all?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So, the entire debt system, or the entire U.S. economy, is basically based on IOU, correct? Because we no longer are based off the gold standard.
Right, and that stopped back in the, I think
60s,
well, they started going away from it in 1939.
With Richard Nixon, right?
Yep. Before then.
Oh, really?
And then they went fully away from it. Might have been during Nixon. I'm not totally sure.
But now we're at this point where basically the entire U.S. economy is based on IOU.
Correct.
Yeah. Right.
And there's no backing anymore. That was lifted in 2021, I think, or 2020, where their banks are not required to have any reserves anymore.
Okay, so there's no fractional reserve banking.
Correct. That was lifted
necessary.
Yes, that was. I don't think that was reestablished either. If I recall correctly, I believe it was 2020 or 2021 around COVID. They lifted all restrictions for fractional banking.
Why would that be good?
It's not good.
Or why would that be good for?
Now banks can leverage more. So banks can loan more money out. So when a bank gets $1, they're allowed to loan a lot more than just that $1 to someone else, right?
Right.
They get $1 from the Federal Reserve. They can loan a lot more out than just that $1. They can multiply it. So when you get rid of fractional banking, you allow more multiplication of the dollar that's already there.
So if the entire system is built on IOU, surely at some point it will collapse, correct?
It has to. I don't think that a fiat system can go indefinitely. I don't see that ever happening.
Right.
And if you look back through all of history, you can go back thousands of years too and find evidence of types of fiat currency, even back during Mesopotamia times, where every system always failed. Now, will this system be the system that never fails? I highly doubt it. Could it happen? I mean, I suppose, but I would be shocked if our system continues going for a long time.
Because we're not paying the debt back to us, correct? To
No,
the
so
U.S. citizens.
It's just creating more and more inflation, and it'll keep doing that until something breaks.
Right. Yeah. And what would break?
The ability for people to pay back debt. And when banks can no longer loan money out because people are no longer borrowing and people can no longer pay back debt, and banks are stuck holding dead paper like they did back in 2008 when there was a lot of banks that failed during that time. When that starts happening and people realize that I can't afford, and people stop allowing banks to loan out so much money, I think that would be the point when some of this starts coming down.